We begin tonight with news of a deadly winter storm that dumped more than 5 feet of snow on parts of western New York. The massive storm is blamed for at least 6 deaths. It paralyzed the Buffalo, New York area and stranded scores of drivers. Arise News correspondent Shahan Ramkusoon has the latest on this fast and furious storm. Shahan?
Yeah, that's right, Debbie. The autumn blizzard dumped a year's worth of snow in just a couple of days on western New York State.
I'm going to the gas station.
Believe it or not, that flashing light you see is the back of a car covered in snow. It's the result of a cold blast that's hit several parts of the U.S., particularly Buffalo. Scores of people have been left stranded on the road. This driver used FaceTime to speak about her experience.
We don't know when we're going to get out of here. We don't have food. We don't have water. I think we're maybe at about half tank of gas.
5 people died in the storm, the latest a 46-year-old man in his car buried under 15 feet of snow. 1 person was killed in a traffic accident and 3 others died after suffering heart problems. Temperatures in all 50 U.S. states dipped to freezing or below on Tuesday. And while many desperately look for warmth, there actually are some who are in winter wonderland. This panda in Canada is simply having the time of his life, frolicking in the snow. And while that panda rolls around in all his glory, officials in Buffalo have urged people not to travel because roads will be closed for a couple of days. Debbie.
Thank you, Shahan. We appreciate that. For a closer look at what's behind this unusual storm, we turn to Michael Mogil, who's a meteorologist with the program How the Weather Works, and he's joining us. Michael, welcome to Rise America. Thank you so much. I'm sure you're busy at times like this when so much of the country is under the snow. Give us a little bit of an overview of what this polar vortex is doing across the country.
Well, you're right. It is another polar vortex, and the polar vortex likes to hang around Hudson Bay. It does it every year to varying time periods. This year, it's been fairly persistent, certainly in the last 10 days. And the longer-range forecasts call for it to relax and head further north up towards the pole. And that means that the cold blast, the snow, everything that's going on right now will come to an abrupt end by the beginning of next week.
And so tell me, you said it'll come to an abrupt end at the beginning of next week, but is this a sign of things to come for the rest of the winter?
I'm not going to put it in that category. It's definitely unusual. Would not expect this much snow cover and this much heavy snow this early in the, quote, winter season, and it's not even winter yet. Meteorological winter doesn't start until December 1st, and astronomical winter doesn't start till a few days before Christmas. So this is unusual, but it's not unprecedented. Buffalo has had snowy Novembers before. They've had snowy Decembers before. And sometimes they're followed by lesser snow, and sometimes the heavy snow continues and continues.
Yeah, indeed. Is there any way to know? I think we were and I'm going to say victim of the polar vortex at least a couple times last winter. Is there any way to know how many times it's planning to visit us in this way again, or is this an aberration?
Well, I think the polar vortex in the Northeast and over the Great Lakes and eastern Canada, it's going to be a fixture for much of the winter. It will relax, it'll come back, it'll relax. The western United States is going to have an upper-level high-pressure center rather than a low-pressure center. So the western United States will be warm and continue droughty, if you will. And this is what tends to happen when weather patterns get locked in. You wind up with one part of the country cold and snowy and wet, and another part dry and hot. And that's going to be pretty much the winter season. Now, when the polar vortex dips further down into the United States, it's going to bring clouds and precipitation to the Gulf Coast and Florida, and that's going to cut off our beautiful sunshine. And so what we wind up with then in the southern tier is we wind up with below average temperatures, maybe some bouts of snow inland in the deep south, not along the Gulf Coast or in Florida. But the weather pattern just changes throughout the winter. And so you could have, I mean, the other day we were in the 80s here down where I'm at in South Florida, and today we barely got into the low 60s. I know people in Buffalo, people in New York are going, the 60s? Right. I'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, just a yes or no question. Is this due to climate change?
I can be very emphatic in my answer. No.
Okay.
Heck no.
All right, Michael, so nice to talk to you. Thank you very much.
All right, take care. Stay warm.
You too.